Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at round number 3 of Norway chess, which is being held here in Stavanger. Now, going to the third round, I was tied for the lead with Arjun Erigaisi, and I was up against the current world champion, Gukesh D from India. Now, Gukesh has gotten off to a bad start with 2 losses in the first 2 games. Both of those games, he did have the black pieces, and today he has white. So even though he hasn't been on form, he's still a very dangerous opponent. So without further ado, let's jump right into the action. Now, I'm playing with the black pieces. The game starts out with the move e4. I play e5, knight f3, knight c6, and we get the classic Gucci piano with the move bishop c4. I play knight f6, d3, and here I play the move bishop e7. Now, in the past, I've usually played this move bishop c5, but I recently had quite a bit of success with this bishop e7 move against both Lenier Dominguez and Fabiano Caruana in the American Cup. So I play bishop e7. We get castles, rook e1, I play the move d6, and here we get the move a4, creating space for the bishop on b3 or a2. Now, in this position, I play the move knight a5. Now, without going too deeply or too far in depth into my thought process going into this game, or the tournament as a whole, because of course there are many more games where I have white and black, I wasn't sure if I should go for this variation. However, I had looked at this line, I thought it was fine, and ultimately I decided to go for it. So we get bishop a2, c5, we get the move bishop d2, I drop the knight back, and now we get the move knight a3. Now, at this point, the position is completely fine, but I wasn't 100% sure of what the correct move was. I wasn't sure if it was h6 or if it was this move a6. Now, ultimately, I played the move h6. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but I suspect that a6 is the move that I had in my file. So I play a6, we get the move c3, and now I play this move bishop e6, and this is simply a bad move. What I mixed up during the game is that had I played a move like a6, for example, and white goes knight c4, then I play the move bishop e6, and after b4, I can simply trade and play this move d5 here, and the computer says this is completely fine. But in my mind, I had confused the order because I thought that it was with bishop e6 and the move knight to c4 being played. So when I went bishop e6, Gukesh, of course, trades the bishops and now plays move b4. And already here, I was feeling very uncomfortable with my position because white is threatening to put pressure on these central pawns. There's also a lot of space here on the queen side, and it's already very difficult to play. Now here I played the move b6 after a bit of a think, and this is a move that is simply probably too passive. But the reason I played b6 versus, say, taking and playing this move d5, which is the top computer line, is that it requires a lot of calculation here. I'm creating a big weakness with this pawn on e5 after, say, a move like knight c2, and it just feels very, very tough to play, and if I'm not super accurate here, I could very easily lose the pawn and lose the game without a fight. So that's why I decided to play the move b6, we get knight c4, and now I play the move queen e8. Now the reason I went for this idea is I thought, you know what, I'm going to push all my pieces over the king side and attack, and I should be completely fine. Now Gukesh goes b5, I play knight d8, and now we get this move d4. Now I was very surprised when Gukesh played this move because here I was very concerned about a move like queen b3 and something like knight f7 and a5 here. Let's say I go rook b8, takes, and it frankly just looks very, very dangerous. White is double stacking on the file, and actually as I see the computer evaluation, it's good to note that I actually was correct in my assessment of this position. Gukesh instead plays move d4. Now, to be fair, this move shocked me for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I thought this move was simply not a good option. I thought I could trade the pawns like in the game, and now plays move knight takes e4. Unfortunately, this was the first of quite a few miscalculations in this game for me, because as I realized when I was thinking before taking, after rook e4, d5, forking the rook and the knight, white has rook g4. If I take this knight, there's bishop takes h6, bishop f6, and now after a move like bishop g5, maybe even rook c1 here. Actually, rook c1 allows queen h5, sorry. So after a move like bishop g5, white is much better here. I have this weak king. There are a lot of threats potential on the h file and the g file here with this rook. It doesn't feel very good, and as the computer says, white is much better. So I spent a lot of time here. This is one of the first moments where I think I needed to move a little bit quicker because the time control in this game is such that you do not get increment until move 40. So if there's any sort of mishap in the middle game, you can end up struggling mightily. So I decided to take, and now Gukesh surprised me again by playing this move bishop b4. As you'll notice, over these last couple of moves, I've used more than 30 minutes, and I was really certain that he would play this move knight takes d4. In this position, I was going to go rook c8. I thought rook c1 and maybe d5 was okay. Honestly, I wasn't really sure what was going on. I have a weak pawn on e6, and with D's knights very active, I thought I was in a lot of trouble. But instead, Gukesh played the move bishop b4 very quickly, and I was really unsure of what's going on, because when you play at the top level, usually when you do calculations, you expect your opponent to play the moves that you've looked at, and for the last several moves in this game, Gukesh has started playing moves that I did not think were really all that acceptable. Maybe by acceptable, what I mean is I thought they were giving away the advantage. So after bishop b4, I play the move knight takes e4. We get rook takes knight. I play d5, takes, we get takes, and now I take the knight on c4. Now, in this position, I already thought at this point I had survived the worst of it. I'm temporarily up a pawn here, but if I can activate the knight with these open d and c files, I should not be in any danger. So here, Gukesh spent a lot of time before playing this move knight e5. Initially, this was my big concern. Actually, at this moment, I think I went into confessional box, and I mentioned a line that I think would have been bad had I played it, which was queen to f6, f4, and rook e8 here, because I thought that we would get the move rook d7, and after queen f4 and queen to e2, I thought I was in trouble. Apparently, I'm okay here after rook c8, rook f1, and queen g5. So this is a bit of a heartbreaker because when Gukesh was thinking, I considered this line, but I thought with the rook coming to f1, the active rook, this very passive knight, I was in a lot of trouble. But apparently here after rook f1 and queen g5, because I have this passed c pawn, it's okay. So when Gukesh was thinking, I spent a lot of time here calculating, and ultimately I played queen g5 right away. Now, this might not be the best move here. The other option that I considered was rook to f5 on Gukesh's turn. And after knight takes c4, apparently after queen f6, it's okay here. I guess with the active queen and the rook, there shouldn't be any issues, but I decided to play queen g5. Now we get knight takes c4, I go knight b7, and this is probably the first moment in the game when I started to relax, meaning that I figure with rooks coming to the center of the board, the knight going to c5 with an outpost, I should not be worse. This should be an easy draw. However, beware, when you play chess at a beginner level, it's not super relevant, but as you become an intermediate or even a strong casual player around like master or above, there are moments in the game where you really need to be vigilant. The moment you start relaxing and you take your foot off the gas and you think it's just an easy draw, the game is over, is usually when something goes wrong. So we get the move queen e2, I play knight c5, rook d1, and now I play the move rook f4 very quickly. Now the problem here is that I was trying to figure out what I was going to do on my opponent's turn, and in my mind, I had already looked at this move knight takes a4, queen e6, and king to h7, and I knew I was fine. And then I very quickly blitzed out the other move that I was thinking about while Gukesh was thinking, which was this move rook to f4. Now this move is simply inexplicable by me. It does not throw away the advantage or anything along those lines, but I was intending to play knight a4. Now, luckily, when Gukesh was thinking, I got it from the board, so there was no visual expression on my face. But as soon as I got to the back room, I had this look of confusion of like, what did I just do? This was not my plan. I was going to play knight a4. Why did I just suddenly play this move rook f4? Nonetheless, after rook f4, the position is still okay for me. It's not a big deal. I decide to take, and this is really where I completely take my foot off the gas and just assume everything is draw. I trade, and now I played the move rook d8. Now, I thought this endgame was simply a draw, and the unfortunate issue about this is that I missed one move in this entire sequence, which means it goes from being what I thought was a dead draw to actually a clear win for my opponent. Now, what I should have done somewhere around here after takes in this position is probably I should play queen c1, rook d1, and queen c3 here. And after knight c6, I guess there's a5, and probably this is okay. Honestly, this feels a little bit loose, giving white this passed b pawn that you can rush up with like b6 here. But apparently after a4, black is fine. I don't know if even if I'd used a lot of time, I would have come up with this, because optically it just looks very dangerous, even though the computer says it's fine. So this is not really something that I consider. But the real issue is that, again, because I had spent so much time earlier in the game, I was calculating a lot on Gukesh's time, so I didn't want to get super low where time pressure was an issue. And unfortunately, I go into a variation which is simply based on an oversight. So we get knight c6, and here I play the move queen d7, and actually after this move, I offered Gukesh a draw, because I thought I'm going to be able to play a6 if I'm able to, say, eliminate these pawns, just to illustrate the point. If we get to a position like this, where we each have 3 pawns on the king side, or frankly, even a position like this, just to set it up, where it's 3 versus 2, I should probably still be able to draw the game. So when I went queen d7, I thought I'm going a6 is going to be an easy draw. What's the big deal? To my horror, Gukesh played the move h4, and I kind of realized this while he was thinking, actually, because I realized pretty quickly this was a mistake. But my idea of playing a6 actually loses the game here, because white has queen to e5, attacking the knight. And now when I go knight d3, there's queen b8 check, king h7, and there's this great move queen to f8 with this threat of knight to e7 here, and white is just winning the game. If I play a move like pawn takes pawn, there's knight to e7, and simply this threat of queen g8 checkmate is unstoppable unless I sacrifice the queen. If I play h5, there's check and mate here. King has no squares available on g6 or g5. If I sack the queen, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to lose the game very, very soon anyway. So this is really a big shot. Now, what makes this much worse is that I thought in my mind this was a dead draw. I thought I'm drawing the game easily, we're going to go to Armageddon, and so as soon as h4 is on the board, it's really unfortunate because I don't even have an easy move to play, which means now I have to spend time, I'm going to get low on the clock, and it's almost impossible, in my opinion, to save the game. Now, the computer does say this is still possible to save after the move knight to a4 here, which I did consider, by the way, but after queen to e5 here with the same threat of queen b8 or queen a7 here, it's very hard to defend. After knight b6, check here, takes, check, king h2, queen d6, g3. Apparently, after queen c5, queen f7, and knight d5, the computer saves this game here. Honestly, I don't think even if I had time, I probably would have found this anyway, but it does show that there are always resources in every single position. Now, I think there's even this line knight d8 where I have knight c7. Beautiful move here as the queen attacks the pawn, guards the knight, hits the pawn, and this is a draw. But honestly, this is very, very tough to find. And considering my mental state of thinking that the game was a dead draw and then panicking, getting low on time, I simply was not able to come up with this move. Now, what's worse about this is that the line that I ended up playing, which was queen d6, is even worse than knight a4. Now, the lines I consider were knight b7, but I thought after knight b7 takes, knight d8, and queen to e3, white is simply pushing the extra pawn and winning the game. So then I thought, well, maybe knight d3, but now again, I think white can go knight takes a7, or even queen d2 here, and white is doing very well. So then I thought maybe knight b3, but now there's queen to e3, hitting both the pawns at the same time, and I lose this way. So finally I thought, okay, I can't move my knight, I'm down to 10 minutes, I just have to play a move. But this move is even worse, because after knight takes a7, this move is also based on another miscalculation featuring a very similar line, which is that I thought I could play queen to d4 here, attacking the pawn, and if white guards the pawn, there's queen to a1 check, hitting the king and winning the knight. But after the move knight to c6, if I go queen to h4, which is my initial idea, now white has queen to e5, and again, the same motif with queen b8, queen f8, knight e7 is simply GG, why not? A sample line is queen to c4. Actually, a sample line would be, let's say queen g5, for example, and after takes, b6, knight b7, white brings the king up, you have this knight stuck here guarding the pawn, and technically speaking, this should be a win for white. So then the other line you think is, well, I go queen c4, guarding the knight, right? But now again, there's this problem with queen b8 check. If I go this way, there's a knight fork of the king and the queen. And when I go up to h7, it's the same problem. Knight to e7, threatening this checkmate on g8 once again. The only way to stop it is to go e5 so that I cover the square. But after queen takes e5, I'm down a pawn. This pawn's marching up the board, and the same checkmate threats remain around my king on h7. So at this point already, I probably could have resigned here. But I decided to play knight d3, and now Gukesh plays knight c6. And here I inexplicably do something which is exactly the same. I play king h8 in 2 seconds. Now, in my mind, while Gukesh was spending his 5 or 6 minutes in this position, I actually was looking at the line knight to f4, queen to c2, and then I was going to play the move king to h8 here. Now, I still would have lost the game, of course, had this happened, that the result was not in doubt, but it's really bad that I was calculating this line, and then over the board, I just played the wrong sequence with the move king h8 right away, instead of at least making Gukesh have to find maybe 2 or 3 more moves, because once I go king h8, we get the move queen to f3, the queen guards the knight, the b pawn is going up the board, and here, there's no hope for me. So I play king g8 back. We get g3, I play knight c5, king g2, and now I play the move queen d7. Doesn't really matter what I do. If I play a move like knight d7, which is another option, white can simply play queen e4. White has all day here. You can go queen d4. You can slowly move the king or start pushing the pawns on the king side. With so many options, there's just no chance for Gukesh to make a mistake. So I play queen d7. We get the move queen to f4. I play check, king h2. I go king h7, and now Gukesh plays the move queen to f7. Knight to e7 also would have been good enough, but it's kind of ironic that even though I lose this game anyway, once again, I simply did not see another idea featuring this checkmate towards g8, so maybe I need to do some puzzles, because this was probably the 3rd or the 4th time this happened in the game. Luckily, at this point, it was already over. It didn't matter, but it's still kind of funny to note nonetheless. So now I go knight d3, we get knight e7, queen d8, takes. I decide to take the pawn on f2, doesn't matter. We get queen f5, and here I regrettably resign the game, because after king h8, there's knight g6 check. If I move away, white can simply take the horse, and if I go up, white simply goes knight to e5 check, king g8, takes a knight with an extra knight and a pawn. There's simply no hope for me here. So, this is a very, very disappointing game to lose, primarily because even though I was suffering out of the opening, I had finally turned the tables and gotten it back to an even situation. But alas, I fell asleep at the wheel for one move. I missed one little nuance, this queen b8, queen e5, queen b8, this queen e5, queen f8 idea, which is really unfortunate. It does happen, obviously. I would have preferred if it did happen in this game, certainly. But, you know, it is what it is, and you can't always be perfect. So the reason I'm unhappy, of course, is because of that. But at the end of the day, you're not always going to survive bad positions. Sometimes your opponents are going to find good moves. They're going to put pressure on you. And so it wasn't meant to be today. It's a very difficult loss. That being said, there is a bit of good news despite losing, which is that Arjun Erigaisi, the player who's closest to me in terms of rating as we march potentially towards the FIDE Canada's tournament and the rating spot, lost his game, meaning that even though I lose, I still have a 20-point cushion as we go into the fourth round of Norway Chess tomorrow. Now, obviously, that doesn't matter in general, but it's still a bit of good news moving forward. So you always have to look on the bright side. And the one last point that I want to add about this, aside from the fact that Gukesh showed great technique towards the end, is that if you had asked me before the tournament if I was going to be on an even score after 3 rounds with 1 white and 2 blacks, I would have been ecstatic with that result. I would have been happy with the result. So maybe I got it in a way that I would not be happy with, but nonetheless, it's still completely fine. And we move on to play in round number 4 tomorrow, when I will have the white pieces against I believe Wei Yi. Is it Wei, or I think it's Wei Yi. I might be wrong, but I think I have white against Wei Yi tomorrow in the 4th round. So, of course, it'll be the final game before we have the first rest day of the tournament. So I'm just going to move on, focus on that game, and we'll see how it goes. So obviously a big disappointment today as I suffer a loss against Gukesh, the current world champion. But I hope you guys enjoyed the recap from this 3rd round game here in Norway Chess. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below. And we will be back with a recap after tomorrow's game against the #1 Chinese player. Hope you guys enjoyed it and have a great rest of your day. See you soon. Bye.